With a new league, with a new league brings a new challenge. 10 teams, 20 drivers connected with the one unified passion: to race, to win, to be champion. Originally designed to be a suitable supporting act, what once promised little had delivered so much. A plethora of memories to cherish, repress, reflect on, and devise new strategy. From the streets of Montreal to the desert in Abu Dhabi. Heartbreak, euphoria, success and failure, all brandished along the racetrack for all those to see in equal measure. As the curtain closes on the season finale, and we wait for those 5 red lights to get our hearts pacing, for one final time, this is VRL F2, and it is time to go racing. Hi, so good evening ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for the delay in the stream. There's been a few connectivity issues for myself, but thankfully we've been finally able to get the stream underway once and for all. I'm your lead commentator Adam Burns, and this is VRL F2, the season finale here at Abu Dhabi, and joining me once again for one final time this season, my co-commentator, VRL F1 favourite, Marine. Marine, how are you this evening?
Yeah, good evening. I'm good, excited for the finale, of course. Should be a good one, because there are lots of battles still in the championships. So,
yeah, you know, you're absolutely right. There's just so much to decide. There's so much going on, and I can't wait. I am so excited for this season finale. Just to let you guys know, of course, bear with me in terms of the chat. Do comment in as much as you can, and I'll be able to interact as much as possible. Obviously, as I said before, there have been some internet trouble, so I do apologise if the quality of the video is a little bit compromised. There's nothing much I can do about that. Usually my internet's been very reliable all season. Unfortunately, this time that is not the case. Nonetheless, we are about to get going under the lights for one final time this season for VRL F2, and it's been an absolutely fantastic season, and it's championship time, ladies and gentlemen. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Ice-T, or is it going to be Jay Fletcher? Who is going to be crowned the inaugural VRL F2 champion? Marine, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Who do you think it's going to be today?
Yeah, I don't even dare to predict anything because it's so close. Even in the constructors, I think there are like 5 teams still able to win it mathematically. So yeah, and in terms of the drivers, both drivers have done a lot of practice, and they're actually pretty equal on pace. As I saw in the time trial leaderboards, and saw them put some times in the chats as well. So, yeah, it will be a question of who can deal with the pressure the best.
No, you're absolutely right to mention that. And yes, you're right. There's 5, potentially half the constructors in VRL F2 in this race can win the Constructors' Championship. We have leading the way Racing Point on 160 points, with Ferrari in second place after momentarily taking the lead, surrendered that in the last race in Brazil after a poor showing by their standards. In third place, Mercedes, heavily forefronted by Fletcher, as we're with right now. And then we've got Toro Rosso in 4th and Renault in 5th. However, in truth, there are really only 2, in my opinion, that can win this Constructors' Championship, either Racing Point or Ferrari. But that's not to count out Mercedes. It's still possible, and Toro Rosso, and even Renault. But we're really, in my mind, looking at 2-horse race for that, as we are with the Drivers' Championship, and with Jay Fletcher coming out to do his first flying lap. The man who has been in impressive form. 3 VRL F2 victories in the 7 races he's competed in, 5 podiums, 4 poles in the last 5 races, Marine. He's not qualified outside the top 3 since Belgium earlier in the season. That is incredible form, and it to boot with that, he has either come first or second in the last 5 races. Are we looking right now at the potential VRL F2 champion, or do you feel that perhaps he has not got enough time and it's too big of a gap to Ice-T?
Yeah, well, I think we have to look at Ice-T. He needs to finish 5th, if I'm correct. So well, or fourth would give him the title, whatever happens. And the gap is 15 points, so yeah, if Fletcher wins, he needs to finish fourth, so Ice needs to make sure he does that. And yeah.
No, you're absolutely right, Marine. As we're just following Fletcher on his first flying lap at the moment, it comes through the middle sector. He set a purple in sector 1, although it's been beaten. He set a purple sector 2 as well. Of course, this is the first time, so they're all going to be purple until they come across the line. But yes, a 15-point swing has to happen in Fletcher's favour. And let's not forget, he's won 4 races this season. Oh, sorry, 3 races, I should say. Whereas Ice-T has won only 2. As it stands at the moment, on countback, I believe it would go in Fletcher's favour by virtue of having more second place finishes at this point in time. If Ice-T was to win, of course, if Ice-T did win, it wouldn't matter. So Fletcher has that advantage with countback on virtue of having more race wins. And he sets his first fastest time, 1:33.8. So that's the benchmark for everyone else to beat. Now Ice-T, what can he do to respond as we go to him, who's abandoned that first run by the looks of it? As he's validated the lap, you're absolutely right. And it's been an incredible season, Marine. So many memories, so many great moments, some bad moments, let's not forget as well. Of course, there's been the controversy in the last few races, perhaps of some drivers, perhaps not necessarily implying that this is what they're doing, but there is the potential where some drivers getting involved in certain situations in this championship. Not to detriment with some drivers, but to almost help out some other drivers as well. And there's nothing really wrong in that, of course, as long as they do it in the right spirit. But hopefully we don't see any of that today. We see a straight out fight between the 2 stars this season, and it's going to be an absolutely brilliant finale this season, as we're now with Bois on pole, who's quite the qualifying specialist himself. The best qualifier statistically outside of Ice-T and Fletcher, who between the two of them, yeah, it's on the hard tyres. Quite a strange one, that one, but being in Abu Dhabi, the tyre choice usually is quite mixed. You don't see many people going for the harder tyres. And what would your thoughts be on that, Moraine, as to why that is?
Yeah, both Ferraris have gone for a different strategy. Or it could just be to test the track or something. Yeah, Abu Dhabi, the 2-stop is actually quicker around here, so if you can manage it well, yeah, bit of a weird choice. It could work out for them if they get it right, Ferrari, and Bois pole as well.
Yeah, I mean it could do. I mean it's a lot of pressure on Ferrari because of course they worked so hard to take the lead of the Constructors' Championship after the US Grand Prix, and then in Brazil with that double retirement they completely threw that away. So now the onus is back with Racing Point, and of course for those of you familiar with Vrl F2 recognising a different name, Nick Pancras, that is Niltix, formerly known as Niltix. So he's just changed his tag name, so it is the same driver, still the same team lineup. As Byron Pole comes across the line now on the harder tyres, time he sets 1:37.1, which only puts him 10th, so second slowest of the drivers that have run, and Sean Larry was the other one with a 1:44.3. So you're probably right, Moraine, maybe they're setting a marker, getting their eye in.
Yeah.
For those times, I would not expect them to continue qualifying on those tyres, as Ice-T on the previous lap, if you just missed that, does a 1:34.4, and his task is very simple today. He's got a 15-point gap to Fletcher. Now, as I mentioned before, owing to countback, Fletcher has that advantage no matter what happens in this race. If the championship is decided by countback, Fletcher will win that. So in Ice-T's case, the minimum he has to finish is in the top 4 today, or if he finishes 5th and gets the fastest lap, he'll still win the championship by a point.
Yes.
So plenty of permutations involved there, and of course we will keep you up to date with all the latest permutations as and when they unfold throughout this race. Just looking forward into other drivers in the field. Jamil in the McLaren, surprisingly not involved in this qualifying session, so he's going to be starting at the back, as too is Kimi in the Alfa Romeo, as well with his teammate Max now in the McLaren. Max, a quick driver in his own right, relatively decent performer, obviously who want to be getting into the points for McLaren. It's been quite a subdued season for McLaren. Not great, but not exactly terrible either.
Yeah. Just looking at the race director a few minutes ago, and interestingly, Vrl Paul has a grid penalty at 5 places for a collision with Kimi. That drops him back quite a bit. He's going to need to put a good time in. The damage is limited.
Yeah, no, he's definitely going to have to do that indeed. As you say, penalties have been an issue for qualifying for Vrl Paul. He's received a fair few of them. Certainly no stranger to penalties. Of course, if we cast our minds back to the US Grand Prix, accumulated as many as 7 penalties before he retired. Quite amazingly. But oh, and there's been a big crash. Max has had an incident with Big Roo in the Red Bull out of nowhere. But they just crashed into each other in the final sector, and Big Roo has got a 5-place grid penalty, and he's retired from the session. I don't know if you saw that, Moraine, but that just came out of nowhere. It's completely ruined Max's lap there.
Oh, Big was parked dangerously. His car was in the middle of the track. It's just off the racing line, I think. But drivers can't go full speed there.
No, and that's really going to upset a lot of drivers' laps until that is moved. We're with his teammate now, Dekeke Jensei, who the Red Bull team has gone through quite a number of drivers. I think if I remember right, it's been about 4 or 5 different drivers this season for the Red Bull team. Yeah. And it's definitely coincided with a less than satisfactory showing in the Constructors' Championship, which I'm sure they'd love to be involved in, but definitely next season they're going to have to target a more consistent, quicker driver lineup to try and score some regular points. Their only podium of the season, if my memory serves me right, was in Italy, and and before that they hadn't scored any points before that either.
Yeah, in Italy, Jamil scored a goal, you're right there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we're back with Fletcher now, the man chasing down championship leader Ice-T, currently on provisional pole at the moment. The most successful driver in VRL F2 with 3 race wins, and also the most pole positions as well. And to boast, has 5 podiums this season and 3 fastest laps. So the stats for Fletcher since he's joined has been amazingly impressive, Moraine. He's great form since he joined earlier in the season in Germany. Bear in mind, he's only raced 7 races this season. He hasn't started. He's not really looked back. He led the German Grand Prix in his debut for Red Bull, strangely enough, before he retired just before the end. He came across the line in 2nd in Belgium, and that was a crazy race. It saw him and Ice-T face penalties, which relegated them further down the order. Of course, Fletcher ended up finishing 5th, but since then, 1st, 2nd, 1st, and 2nd. Incredible stuff. As he comes across the line now, and he goes even faster, 1:33.5. Nobody anywhere near him at the moment. We have MES Compassion, the winner of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Great showing from him. And he's a driver, Moraine, in my mind, that could really cause shockwaves in VRL F2 next season if he stays on with the Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
He's been in great form, scored a podium in every race he's been in. He's runner-up in Japan, runner-up in US, and a winner in Brazil. Could he be a deciding factor in this championship fight?
Yeah, well, we've seen him help his mate Ice-T out a few times with a slipstream in the last few races. And yeah, if he can fight Jay, so yeah, that could definitely be a player factor.
Well, right now, Ice-T doing exactly what he needs to. He's qualified 4th. Qualifying, he's been brilliant, Ice-T. He's got 2nd most pole positions this season. Only Fletcher has more than him. And at the moment, his qualifying has been a bit up and down, but he's right where he needs to be in that fight, even though he's almost a 2nd off Fletcher's pace. But Compassion coming around the final corner. He's been quick in the first 2 sectors, and he just behind Fletcher. So he's right there on the front row with him. Definitely going to give him something to think about, as Ice-T now on another lap, but he's invalidated this one as well. So he's not going to get much time to do another run.
Nick Pancras, good quality for him. He's been a bit lower down the field in the last few races, and now he's decent. They're both racing points ahead of Ferrari. So.
Exactly where they need to be. And just to paint a picture in the Constructors' Championship, guys, for those of you unsure of the actual picture of what we're looking at in terms of what Ferrari need to do, The gap between them is 8 points. That double retirement in Brazil could be a huge problem for Ferrari, something they may regret going into this final race. But an 8-point swing will be the difference between those two sides. Now, of course, Racing Point on countback have more race wins than Ferrari. Now, if you remember back in the British Grand Prix, Burkay had got the race win, but it got taken away from him after a penalty. So Ferrari have, believe they have, is it the one race win? I think Sean Larry won in Singapore.
Yeah, he did.
And you've got Ice-T who's won 2 races himself. So, right now Ferrari need to score big. And they need to get fast in qualifying, because right now Burkay and Sean Larry nowhere near the leading pace. Burkay hasn't even set a lap yet, amazingly. Now coming to the last few minutes of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, 50% race. Final race of the season, no double points, unlike what was awarded in previous Formula 1 seasons back in 2014, which we will not be seeing that anytime soon. Of course, the Abu Dhabi circuit been on the calendar since 2010. 2 DRS sections, one in from turn 7 to turn 8 and the other from turn 10 to turn 11. Plenty of overtaking opportunities, Marine, especially in previous seasons. In 2016, Nico Rosberg having to risk it all, making a bold move on Max Verstappen to get into second position it was, which he was able to hold on to despite late pressure from Vettel and of course Hamilton backing him into the Ferrari to eventually win his one and only World Championship before retiring.
Yeah, interestingly, that race was really interesting because Hamilton was backing up Rosberg to try to get Verstappen and Vettel to overtake him, and I don't see. I could see that happening today actually, because if Fletcher gets a good start. If he does that, most of the time he just disappears in the distance. But yeah, if Ice-T is in the position he needs to be, yeah, that's not good enough for Fletcher. So, I mean, it could be possible to see that today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think in the last couple of races for Ice-T, he's now gearing up for his final lap of qualifying. His form has been a bit off. Obviously, the last 3 races, he's come 5th in Japan, 7th in the US, after a really confusing strategy choice, which really cost him in the changeable conditions, if you remember that race. And also that 5th place in Brazil. At the moment, despite being so dominant at the start of the season, where he could have easily won the first 4 races if it weren't for issues with his internet connection in Britain and also in Belgium as well, where he got that penalty as a result of those issues. He is not as some Toro Rosso in front of Ice-T that's going to give him a lot of traffic, but also might give him a nice little tow as well. Is that Compassion in front of him?
Yes, it is.
So once again,
there's another car ahead.
But there's both Toro Rossos and they get out of the way. So does the other one.
Double tow for Ice-T there.
And this is what I was talking about. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong of supporting other drivers in this manner. Of course, we never normally see anything like this for drivers that are in different teams, but there are some friends, a lot of friends in this community, and they will, where they can and where it's within the rules and in the right spirit, help some other drivers to get an advantage over others. And getting a beautiful tow from Ice-T, and no surprise, Marine, purple middle sector from Ice-T. So now we're going to take you through the final sector now. It's a really tight, this is where time can be won and lost, taking both of those left-handers into 3rd gear now as he builds up the speed now for the final part of the lap. Holds it in 5th, don't let it run too wide, and the final corner feels like an age to get on the throttle. You want to get on as soon as possible, holds it on nicely, early short shift, and he's only 3rd. So Ice-T only 3rd. So now we're on board with Fletcher, his rival. 15 points the difference between these two in the championship. Let us know in the chat, guys, who do you think is going to be crowned the inaugural VRL F2 champion? Is it going to be Ice-T or is it going to be Fletcher?
Fletcher was just half a tenth down on his personal best, so if he nails the final sector, it could still improve from that time.
it's the consistency that you need to win a championship. However, for Fletcher, unfortunately, despite his massive haul of points he's got since he's joined, it may not even be enough, but he's certainly going to try now as he throws it in as hard as he can, leaves it in. It looks very fast, very risky, but he's come through the final corner now, holds it to the fastest line, and he improves. 133.375 for Jay Fletcher. And now we're with Compassion, the only man.
Sean Larry goes fourth on mediums. That's really good.
That's put the cat amongst the pigeons. What a lap from Sean Larry. Ferrari finally getting something in qualifying from one of their drivers. Burkay doesn't even set a lap in 14th. So it'd be interesting to see what he does, but he's going to need to back his teammate up. Nick Pancras. Compassion. He's really sliding now. And there's a yellow flag in Sector 3. There's a stranded Renault. Oh, no, sorry, it's a Racing Point. Yes, so that was Nick Pancras. And that's going to ruin Compassion's lap. Absolutely right. So it looks like Ice-T is going to be on pole position for...
It was AMC.
As AMC comes through the final corner in the other Toro, so he's improving. So where's he going to... He goes third.
He goes ahead of Ice-T, interestingly.
So whilst helping him out, perhaps inadvertently, unlike his teammate on the previous lap, he has ended up relegated Ice-T to 4th position on the grid.
Stein Kois, he goes 8th.
Some good effort from Stein. And that is qualifying. So a lot of big talking points to come from qualifying. But yes, you're right, Mariah. Sean Larry, 6th fastest. And of course, Alex Jaffa Baboon. Final time he's going to be using that tag name, for what I understand, which is a crying shame because I absolutely love that tag name, Alex. So bringing him all the luck in the world, and he's qualified 5th fastest in the Haas. Great lap from Alex. So that is qualifying, ladies and gentlemen, for Abu Dhabi, the calm before the storm. And as we're about to get underway, I will round off the order for qualifying. So on pole position once again is Jay Fletcher, already the most successful driver in qualifying, gets his 5th pole position of the season. 5 out of 8 races he's put it on pole position. It's incredible. He's not qualified lower than 3rd since Belgium. 2nd place, Compassion joining on the front row once again. AMC F33 joining him in his sister Toro Rosso. Ice-T, championship leader, and he has it all to do in 4th position, but he's in the championship fight at the moment. Jaffa Baboon, Alex, great job from Haas, going from strength to strength in 5th. Sean Larry 6th in the Ferrari. Dekeke Jensei 7th for Red Bull. Stein 8th in Alfa Romeo. Nick Pancras, formerly Niltix, in the Racing Point in 9th. And Yoda Speak, formerly VRL Season 2 champion for Vrl F1, rounds up the top 10. Well, what a qualifying session, Marine. A lot of talking points. Fletcher doing exactly what he needs to do. He needs to win this race and put as much pressure on Ice-T as possible. If he's going to win this championship, Ice-T, Fletcher is certainly making him work for it. As we're now about to get underway, ladies and gentlemen, the lobby is loading. Get your comments in the chat. Send me your predictions. Who is going to win the championship? Who is going to win the Constructors' Championship? Of course, Racing Point and Ferrari, only 8 points apart. Of course, Mercedes, Toro Rosso have an outside chance with both their drivers in the top 3. You never know. And of course, Renault's still there as well. Let me know who you think is going to win the Constructors' Championship as well. We'll be keeping you up to date with all the permutations as we go. And as we're about to get started, guys, for the formation lap for the final time in Vrl F2, now is the time, guys. Get comfortable. If you need a minute to get yourself a nice drink or beverage, you can. Drop the kids off at Grandma's, take the phone off the hook, turn up the volume. We are about to get underway for the final time this season. And I honestly have no idea who is going to do it. Is it going to be this man, Fletcher? Can he do the unthinkable? Can he overhaul what was as large as a 75-point gap to Ice-T as far back as Belgium? Or is it too little too late? Will Ice-T be able to drag it over the line? A championship, Marine, that seemed inevitable at one point in the season, that Ice-T was going to run away with it. Yeah. But with the emergence of Fletcher in Germany, despite an early retirement, the signs were there that he was not going to go away anytime soon. It's amazing that we've got a championship finale at this point, and I cannot wait to see who it's going to be. Speaking of championship finales, we've also got an incredibly exciting climax to the Vrl F1 season. You are definitely not going to want to miss that one. 3 drivers really duking it out for the title. If you want to find out who is going to win that one, I definitely recommend you tune in. That's going to go live tomorrow on the Hot Lap Mode VRL PS4 YouTube channel, live from 2:30 PM UK time, 3:30 PM Central European time, this time tomorrow. And of course, that's going to be broadcasted live to you with the help of our brilliant commentators, Alex and Sem, who are both racing today in Vrl F2. Alex Jaffa Baboon in 5th place, the Nautics. Sem, brilliant commentator. By the looks of it, not so good a driver, but it's a very, very illustrious field, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Certainly probably where I would probably end up, a lot further back than Sem, so not much I can talk. This is why I'm in the booth, dressed up and ready.
Another really interesting thing is that both Ferraris are on mediums and both Racing Points are on soft, so exactly the opposite strategy. It's a 2-stop here actually, so. But the medium could do the 1-stop, so that's interesting.
So just before we get underway, guys, and that's an excellent point. It's definitely something to unfold. Strategies are going to play a big part in this race. Who's got it right? Who's got it wrong? We'll find out in around 50 minutes' time as Fletcher leads the cars to the grid for one final time. And just a quick reminder of the question, guys. It's a championship finale, so just a quick one. It's very simple. Can you tell me what is the smallest margin that a Drivers' World Championship in Formula 1 has been won by, and bonus points for the driver that won the championship and what year he did it in? So now Fletcher comes up the grid. We got the 5 red lights. There's always that lag, so don't forget that. It is time for the final time in VRL F2 to go.
Yes,
Racing! Oh, the suspense is killing you there, but Fletcher gets a good start away. Great start from AFC of 33, and Compassion gets a poor getaway. He's been mugged off the line by Ice-T, and Ice-T moves up into 3rd position. Alex round the outside incredibly on Compassion, but he's right up behind Ice-T now. A lot of pressure, but they're all getting through. A few cars falling back. Oh, one of the brake markers has gone off, and there's a collision. Oh, there's a huge collision! Sean Larry involved in a huge collision with one of the Alfa Romeos.
He lost his whole front wing.
Oh, what a terrible piece of luck there. He's lost a part of it. Burkai's got through okay, but Stein has had damage. That was Stein and Sean Larry who's had huge damage, and that's going to have massive ramifications for the Constructors' Championship. That's exactly the start that Racing Point wanted. And speaking of which, Ice-T is up into 2nd place, Marine. He's overtaken AMCF 33. What a start for Ice-T. What a poor getaway for Compassion, who's dropped from 2nd all the way to 5th, Marine. This is exactly what the championship leader needed. This is exactly what Fletcher did not need. And now he's going to have to hope that cars behind him will be able to do him a favour, because right now the championship leader, champions-elect, is in the driving seat right now. I mean, what a start. I mean, what were your thoughts on that move from Stein there? He just sort of went one way and then went across the other into Sean Larry.
And we see the Racing Point of Nick Pancras and Stein pitting to repair their wing.
Most likely. So a lot of damage off the start. Absolute blockbuster start. We were hoping that they were going to be able to get away, but it's all happening at the front now as Compassion is really challenging Alex. And AMCF 33 turned over to the left-hand side. I don't know if you saw that, Ryan. On the right-hand side, just before the chicane, he went very, very slowly, and that's allowed not only Alex, but also Compassion to overtake him into 3rd and 4th position. So I'm not sure if that was orchestrated.
Alex now on the podium, but here comes Compassion on the outside in the chicane. Done it.
We'll apologise, guys.
Better exit.
Yeah, unfortunately, guys, the interval is broken at the moment, so I'll have to come back to that one as we go, and I'm going to have to play around with that, see if it works. Yeah, it's a bit all over the place. I do apologise, guys, but I have to turn that one off for now as we go through. And now Compassion makes a great move, as you said, Marine, up into third position in the Toro Rosso. So right now it seems to be the focus for those drivers is just to compete for pride at the moment. The Constructors' Championship very much in Racing Point's hands as it stands. Ice-T very much doing what he needs to do to win this championship. He only needs to finish in the top 4 or 5th with a fastest lap. But right now, oh, he has a big slide coming out of the final corner. Getting very, very squirmish. And Fletcher sets another fastest lap. DRS now enabled.
That fastest lap could actually decide a title today. Very
much so. Fletcher, no stranger to a fastest lap. However, it would take quite a strange result for Fletcher to win the championship on the fastest lap, but Ice-T can very much do that, quite straightforward, to come 5th and get a fastest lap. That will be enough for him to win the championship by just a point at the moment. Let's look further down the order now, continuing on that battle between Jaffa Baboon and Compassion. But we've got a battle for 6th and 5th place right now. The Keke Jensei all over the back of AMC F33, trying to go round the outside. Can he make the move stick into turn 8 and 9? Oh, and he has done. He's held it around the outside, but AMC F33 with the switchback is going to try and go around the outside. He's going to have DRS as well to boot the Toro Rosso driver. Red Bull versus Toro Rosso, no love lost there, as Jaffa Baboon makes a move around the outside as well, as we can see there. Great stuff, and they're still fighting, but Compassion holds it. And then behind them, you've got AMC F33 just about holds on and gets back into 5th position.
Now down the inside.
And Bois and Pole, yeah, absolutely right, straight down the inside. Great stuff all around. So the top 10 battles going all over the place in Abu Dhabi, a track not very well known for overtaking, and Bois and Pole goes very wide, and that allows Burkai to make the move back into 7th place. Burkai flying the flag for Ferrari, but at the moment it's to little or no avail with Racing Point.
Oh, Bois and Pole cut that corner massively.
Bois and Pole gets a penalty for cutting the track. Also, in other news, water is wet. I mean, I do like the guy, and he's bringing up some great entertainment, but he's really got to cut out the penalty so early in the race as well. It's not what you want to be doing. Now he's coming under immense pressure from Yoda Speak, who's up into 9th position. Make sure, guys, to like, share and subscribe to the channel as Yoda Speak goes for a bold move up the inside. He's not going to get great traction on the exit, and it's going to be potentially 3 wide. Coming into the chicane now between Burkai. Bois and Pole's just driven past him. Both of them have DRS. The Ferrari does not. And now it's Bois and Pole versus Yoda Speak for 7th and 8th position. Both mug the Ferrari. And Yoda Speak's around the outside. Can he hold it in there? He's got the softer tyres, and he does. And Burkai fancies to move as well. He's got his car up there as well, Moran. This is incredible racing between these three. A great stuff. And once again, AMC F33 and the Keke Jensei once again having a battle for 5th and 6th place, so they get that done. But Bois and Pole round the outside there. Oh, and he's been forced off the track, goes across. Yoda Speak maintains it, but and he spun him again.
Unsavory doing.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. Right now, this is really crazy stuff between these three.
Burkai goes off.
You're right, Moran. Yeah, he's gone well off there. Not sure what happened to him there, but he's fallen down to 10th as X18, I'm not pronouncing the rest of that, that's going to take me a while. He's up into 9th position. Oh, and Burkai getting very, very squirmish again. Both the Ferraris having an absolute nightmare of a race so far. Burkai falling down, Sean Larry having to recover. He's going to try and go to the end on the harder tyres, but right now it's very much advantage Racing Point in both championships. And speaking of which, Fletcher extending the gap to Ice-T now, a few seconds ahead of him in the lead. But Ice-T doing what he needs to do, just setting into rhythm, driving smoothly, looking after his tyres. He knows what he needs to do. And this is very
exactly what Fletcher doesn't want, because look at the gap from 4th to 5th. It's 4 seconds already, and that's the crucial position. If Fletcher is going to win the race, Icy needs to be 5th. And that gap is already over 4 seconds now, so yeah, at this point it's very unlikely that Jay Fletcher is going to take this championship.
Well, right now it's looking very much like Racing Point and Ice-T are going to have a double celebration of the Doolan Desert as Brian Pole and Yoda Speak once again reconvening their battle for 7th-8th position. They're definitely getting the shoulders, bumping wheel to wheel, neither of them giving an edge as Yoda Speak gets a penalty for corner cutting, just like Brian Pole did earlier, and Brian Pole finally moves up into 7th, but those two are going to have a race-long battle, and then X18 and the sister Williams right behind him as well. What a crazy start to this race. Just to answer some of the questions in the chat, guys, to Tim Wenting asking, is safety car off in F2? Yes, it is. It's been off since Japan, and I'll be honest with you, Marine, it's brought up some brilliant racing when the safety car's not been involved.
Yes.
But first of the stoppers, Alex Jaffa Baboon also gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That's not going to help his cause. Puts on the medium tyres. Now, normally in Abu Dhabi, it's a track that tends to suit tyres more than damage them. The cooler conditions, racing at night, tends to make it easier, especially.
It's actually the opposite because the tyres overheat really quickly here.
That's funny because on previous games they tend to be. They should really work better on this track, but you're right in a way actually, because normally they should, but they don't. It's a good point actually. Shows
After
what I know.
6 or 7 laps, the tyres are massively worn out, the softs I mean, and you start sliding all over the place, and then they overheat.
But no, you're absolutely right, and then the medium tyres, they tend to go a bit longer, but your thoughts on the 2-stop race, they seem to be right on the money. Normally I would expect this to be a 2-stop race. Very strange why that's the case. A newer track surface, under the lights, cooler conditions, you think it'd be perfect. But plenty of 90-degree corners, very slow to fast corners, does add a bit of wear and stress and load on these tyres, which does take its toll, and that's probably what the drivers are getting. And you're right, it does tend to cause the tyres to slide a bit more as the race unfolds. And of course the pit stops are going to be a big factor as our race leader Fletcher comes into the pits. Right now behind him Ice-T and Compassion carry on.
And that's also pits.
So now we've got Ice-T and Compassion leading 1 and 2 at the moment. Compassion looks like he's clearly faster at the moment than Ice-T, but as we saw in qualifying, Ice-T's gone very well. Oh, he's completely lost it! Oh my goodness, he's lost it! Oh, he's still got damage on the car. He's respawned back. He's reset onto the track. Wasn't sure that
now, Jens, he was in provisional 5th, in a net 5th before the pit stops came, and now he's overtaken him, and Ice-T has wing damage, so his pit stop will be longer. So he's going to need to do a comeback to 5th if he wants, and he's got to set the fastest lap. So, well, just when we thought the championship could be wrapped up, all of a sudden it's not going to be, but he goes for a bold move round the inside. He's got less downforce with no front wing end plate on Jakeke Jensei, who's not going to be letting him have any room, that's for sure. He's not going to be playing him any favours, and he's definitely racing him very hard. All of a sudden, guys, this championship may have got wide open once again. Fletcher doesn't know it yet, but he might be back in the action. Oh, but again, Ice-T has got to be careful, Marine. He's got to nurse that car back. He cannot afford to get involved in an incident with another driver, which could detriment his race once again. And I'll tell you what, he is very, very lucky that he's still driving in this race, very much like Sebastian Vettel in Brazil in 2012 when he was spinning the wrong way. Ice-T still in the fight, but only just. And now he's going to have to surely come into the pit lane, and he does. Ice-T responds, but he's lost a lot of time, not only to the damage but also to the massive undercut Fletcher's going to get. Fletcher doesn't know it, what's happened ahead of him. I'm sure if someone's told him by now, I'm not sure about that, but we'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. But now Brian Pole leads the race on the medium tyres in the Williams. Fletcher's coming up to traffic now.
Yeah, and Fletcher is going to have to do some overtaking of his own. He's just overtaken Kimi for 7th place. He's on the fresh medium tyres. He is definitely going to get a move on, but right now all he can do is win and set the fastest lap. He has to hope results go his way. So right now, not a massive urgency as long as he's ahead of his rivals, but now he pulls alongside Papine. He goes to the left hand side. He has massive DRS, fresher tyres, easy as you like for Fletcher.
It should be relatively easy for Fletcher.
And Ice-T very interestingly, all the way down in 15th position. That is not what he would have wanted, but of course there are some more pit stops to happen, guys, so the order is going to be shuffled up a little bit more as we start to enter the middle phase of the Grand Prix now, middle phase of this race. So stick with us as the battle for 17th and 18th now between Stein and Sem, the Nautics. It's going on with Stein making a move around the outside on the harder tyres. Had that incident at the start with Sean Larry, if you remember earlier on, has dropped him all the way down the field, and Sean Larry also running on the hard tyres. They can't go to the end, surely.
Fletcher around the outside of the Williams X18. And Burkhe's gone off.
Burkhe's gone very wide. This is going to get very dangerous now. What is going on here? The camera's panned away, but somehow they've avoided contact. And Burkhe, as we saw before, getting very squirmish. That rear end is getting very loose, particularly in the final sector. He's on 8-lap-old mediums, who shouldn't really be feeling too much, but his tyres must be red hot from skidding around. And Fletcher has got to be careful. Yes, he's going for the lead, but right now he does not need to force the issue and risk an accident like Ice-T did earlier. I tell you what, it's a shame we only have the one camera, Marine. As I said before, we need more cameras, we need replays, with so much action going on. And we've only got one stream, unfortunately. But now Fletcher looking to try and go for a move on Burkhe. He pulls to the outside. He opens up the DRS. Easy as you like. That Mercedes engine, plenty of grunt in it, especially at the end of the season. And he's up.
X18, the Williams spun. And he's got wing damage. He's just made his pit stop and he spun at the S section.
Oh yeah, you can see he's completely lost that front wing. That is certainly not going to help his cause. And after a very strong showing, as there's more damage a bit further back. I think it was the Nautics, I believe. Might have been an incident there. But he's under increasing pressure there. Sem, increasing pressure from Sean Larry. Goes for a move up the inside. Sem trying to hold it in there. Who's going to come out first? Sem getting very argy-bargy with Sean Larry. They're forcing him to the outside, and now they're going to continue to battle again as Compassion moves up into 5th place, passing Papine in the Renault. We haven't talked much about the Renaults this season. It's a shame their season's fallen off. But Sean Larry forcing Sem as far wide as he dares and moves up into 17th place. So his recovery continues. As Brian Pole.
Interestingly, Compassion is on softs. That's really tricky to make that work. Normally it's soft medium, but soft medium is really hard to manage because the softs overheat quickly and you have to do a long stint on the softs as well as the mediums. As Ice-T sets the fastest lap.
And that could be a very big moment. Ice-T right down in 13th position. Of course, when pit stops happen for some of the other drivers at the moment who have not yet stopped, the likes of as Fletcher moves, yeah, as you're absolutely right, moves to the inside in the lead. Brian Pole, is he going to fight this? It's not really his fight, to be honest. Sort of has a look. Oh, he's going to cause it. Oh, I tell you what, as Fletcher held onto it, he has held onto it, but Bois and Pole risking it all there. And no, it was not smart at all. He was nowhere near Fletcher, really. It wasn't his fight either. And I tell you what, very, very much a hard-in-the-mouth situation, but Fletcher holds on to it, manages to avoid the collision, and is able to carry on, thankfully, and retakes the lead of the race. But now Burkhe having a battle with Compassion for 4th and 5th place. Burkhe has been in the wars today, Marine. There seems to be not one lap of this race where he has not been in a fight with someone, let alone himself trying to hold on to that Ferrari in the final sector. But Compassion, that's an interesting strategy, I've got to say. You're absolutely right to point that out. Of course, I mean, if it were you in this position, Marine, would you try to go mediums for your next stop, or would you have to go to the hards?
Yeah, it depends on. I mean, he's got to overtake everyone now because the softs are quicker in the first few laps, but after 4 or 5 laps, the mediums actually get quicker. So that's why the softs are also difficult to manage, because after 5 or 6 laps, you're going to start sliding everywhere. And they overheat, and the wear really kicks in as well. So yeah, it's really difficult because you don't really know if you'll make it to the medium or you have to pit for hards, and hards are not really good on this track, except if you do a 1-stop. Then of course you have to make 1 stop less, and injure a lot of time.
So as you can see on the graphic now, guys, it's showing you who has stopped and who has not. Vrl F2 and Jamil have not yet stopped. They will have to stop, which will promote Ice-T up the order. But right now, Marine, Ice-T no longer has the fastest lap. That has been taken away. The Keke Jensei did the fastest lap just recently. So now Ice-T has not got that bonus point, which means he's going to have some work to do. He's going to have to pass a few cars, and I believe there's probably 3 cars at the moment. Yeah, there's 3 cars at the moment, not on the same strategy as he is at this point in time, which means he's got work to do. He's going to have to do a few overtakes to win this World Championship.
He's got his teammate ahead of him. He surely won't put up much of a fight.
Yeah, he's pulled up right to the back of him as we're just with the 2 racing points now, who of course in the driving seat for the Constructors' Championship as it stands will take that crown, as well as Fletcher sets the fastest lap of the race. Of course, doesn't really need it at the moment, but that might be important towards the end of... Remember, don't forget, guys, Fletcher needs a 15-point swing in his favour in order to be crowned the inaugural VRL F2 champion. The situation is evolving all the times.
Out of the way.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, as a good teammate should.
He spun at the S section where Ice-T spun as well.
And he's on 11 at old mediums. So I'm trying to figure out what his strategy is, because he's kind of in a no man's land situation, because he can't pit for mediums. Oh, and he's nearly slid again. But he can't pit for mediums again, Marine, without stopping one more time on top of that. The harder tyres are probably going to be too slow for him, although he could go to the end on them and 1 stop. And it's too soon to put soft tyres on without having to stop again. So not sure what he's doing here at this point. Any ideas, maybe?
Yeah, he still has 2 options, I think. Yeah, he can go to the 2-stop with mediums and softs. Yeah, and he could do the hard as well, do the 1-stop as he's pushed Jens off track there.
Well, he's certainly battling. He's definitely not giving up any position, Vrl F2. And I will say this, all jokes aside, he's definitely a fun driver to watch, regardless of what he's doing, whether it be good or bad. And he's fighting everybody on the track today. Just as in the chat, the Hot Lap Mode page, don't forget, guys, give them a follow. They produce excellent content for us in VRL, and of course their own page as well on Instagram. Make sure to follow them, asking to show the gap to the leader. And as you can see right there, the gap between Fletcher and Ice-T, just under 23 seconds right now, almost a pit stop between them. That's how much time Ice-T has lost, owing to that spin he had and also the front wing damage that he received. And that's the difference right now. But right now, time does not matter for Ice-T. He needs to finish in the top 4 as it stands, because Fletcher has the fastest lap, and Fletcher almost Hamilton-esque in terms of being able to set fastest laps towards the end of a stint. It's incredible how he's able to hold that much pace back and then let it all out in one flurry. Sebastian Vettel used to be so good at that in his championship years for Red Bull as well, and Fletcher also doing the same here. But Ice-T now up into 7th place, currently running on similar strategies, except for the Keke Jensei and Compassion, who will also have to stop again, but running on soft tyres. So right now, Marine, Ice-T in 7th position, not relying on other drivers to make a stop, and currently will finish runner-up in the championship by the smallest of margins as it stands. As we approach the halfway point of the race, the season finale in Abu Dhabi. Just as a recap of the top 8, the top order, Fletcher out on his own in the lead once again in Mercedes, driving a flawless race so far, starting from the pole, needs to win the championship as it stands right now. Compassion in 2nd position in the Toro Rosso. Great getaway from him, had to recover as Vrl F2 gets another penalty. We're going to have to tally those up before the end of the race to see how many he gets. We might as well get a sweepstake going, guys. How many penalties do you think Vrl F2 is going to get? Just for a little fun. I'm sure he won't mind. And 3rd position, Jaffa Baboon, Alex. Great start from him off the line up into the podium positions. He has been going from strength to strength. And I'll tell you what, Marine, if Alex Jaffa Baboon continues in VRL F2 next season, there's no doubt he might be able to strike a championship challenge. He's definitely showing improvement in pace, and he's very consistent at the moment. Of course, improving every race. Great result in the US, 4th position in Brazil, and a podium here at the moment. And fans in the chat, Marine, asking if it's possible to just review the penalties as well, if that's okay with you. So AMCF 33 4th at the moment in Toro Rosso, Dekeke Gense 5th in the Red Bull. Yoda Speak, VRL F1 champion of season 2, currently running 6th in the Haas. Ice-T, the championship leader at the start of the race, currently needs to finish in the top 4 or 5th with the fastest lap to win this championship. He is currently running in 7th after a spin, a massive shunt into the wall, losing part of his front wing. Very lucky to still be in this race. Kimi running in 8th place in the Alfa Romeo, started at the back of the field, has managed to get himself up into 8th place. Great job from him. Jamil in 9th in the McLaren, and Burkai rounding up the top 10 in the Ferrari. Right now Ferrari needs to score 8 more points than Racing Point, and Burkai does no favours to that by getting another 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. As it stands, Racing Point are going to do enough to win the Constructors' Championship, but right now their main man Ice-T is not going to be crowned the inaugural VRL F2 champion unless he can get himself up into at least 4th position.
Actually, I just checked the penalties even before it was asked, but it turns out I had my microphone muted.
As a great co-commentator does.
And then turned out I muted my microphone, so I was talking, well, couldn't even hear me. But yeah, interestingly, all cars from 3rd to 6th all have time penalties, so Ice-T may not even need to overtake them if he catches up enough. If I remember correctly, Alex had 2 penalties, and AMC, Dekeke Gense and Matt all had 1 of 3 seconds. So that means if he's within 3 seconds of AMC, if Ice-T doesn't get a penalty himself, of course, he would have enough points to win the championship in 4th place.
It's literally going to come down, in my mind, it's going to come down in the same way that it did in 2008, where Lewis Hamilton won his first World Championship. We literally had to wait for him to cross the line to confirm that he finished where he needed to finish. The same way as James Hunt back in 1976, when he had to finish in the top 3, I should say, and he come 3rd, but we didn't know. We didn't know at the time. So yeah, AMC 33 comes into the pits. So he's the first of the leading runners to blink, to put on the tyres for the final part of the strategy. Probably going to go mediums again.
Yes.
And so in your mind, he is the main man that could decide the outcome of this championship, Marine. AMC 33.
Yeah.
And of course in the chat, I'm loving it, Stein mentioning, is that Glock coming slowly? I'll tell you what, I've seen so much in this championship. Yeah, I've seen so much in this championship. I would not be surprised if we had a moment like that. Of course, we're not going to be expecting any rain in Abu Dhabi.
No.
The last time it rained in Abu Dhabi.
Wasn't there a race, I don't know if it was in 2019 or 2018, there was some drops, but it wasn't enough for intermediates. Yeah, of course the track temperatures are really high here, so the water that drops immediately disappears.
Yeah, no, I think you're right actually. I think I remember rightly. I mean, this is a track that it's got 6 different circuit layouts for testing purposes, and obviously different driving formulas and competitions as well. And this is one of the tracks, as Alex Jaffa Baboon getting very squirmish with the rear end there, almost losing it in the final sector. It's a track that Bernie Eccleston once proposed the idea of making this race more interesting by having artificial sprinklers spray water all over the track. And it's something that they actually use during the tyre test. When they test the wet tyres in Abu Dhabi at the end of the season in Formula 1, they spray the surface of the track with the water sprinklers to get some wet tyre running, because they can't do it in normal conditions because it very rarely rains in Abu Dhabi. I mean, it's the desert for a reason.
Oh, Jens has served his penalty, if I'm correct, so that's interesting as well. And the same may go for Alex, because Jens has gained a lot of time on Alex, so
yeah, Alex
could potentially, and I can't see in the race director if a penalty is removed, so it's gonna go down to the end.
Yeah, you're going to find out when we are, guys. But just remember, as it stands, with Fletcher leading the race, the magic position for Ice-T is 4th at the moment, with Fletcher having the fastest lap. Unless Ice-T sends a bonsai of a lap towards the end of this race to get fastest lap, he is going to have to finish in the top 4. And right now, we are literally on the edge of your seats. I hope you are too, because I know I am. It's an absolute thrill to be able to commentate on moments like this. And hopefully there are plenty more of them. And this is only the first season of Vrl F2. Long may it continue for future seasons to come. And of course,
Matt gets another penalty.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting.
Well.
It could be. Every penalty, every turn of the wheel, every mistake could be critical.
Passion also gets a penalty now.
Well, it's all starting to fall off now for some of the drivers in the top part. Of course, the 2 drivers at the moment that we can count on to keep it clean are Ice-T and Fletcher, driving as if their lives depended on it. So exciting, guys. Let me know, do you think Ice-T can get back into a championship position right now, as the pit stops are now starting to unfold for the final stint of this race? We're going to see as Fletcher has also made his pit stop as well. Let's not forget, Fletcher's made his pit stop. He's just come out now, and he's 9 seconds ahead of Ice-T with a pit stop in hand. So Fletcher, in complete comfort as it stands, the only person that can stop him from winning this race seems to be himself.
Yeah.
At this time. And I hope I haven't put the commentator's curse on him. I haven't had that experience yet. I'm hoping that doesn't happen today. As Alex
gets
another penalty. So yeah, it's so difficult, especially with strict corner cutting. It's so easy to snatch a break, extend track limits, cut a corner, just driving over slightly. You think you've got enough, at least one wheel on the tarmac, but you end up not having that. It's now further down the field in other news. The battle for 4th and 5th right now between Jamil and Kimi. Kimi, an excellent drive so far from him, starting from the back of the race. Big Roo retiring from Red Bull. Red Bull season not one for the history books. As Ice-T has got a penalty, Marine. Ice-T has got a 3-second time penalty for
that
multiple
could make
warnings.
Life a lot more difficult for him.
So just when we were starting to say that,
breaking point as well.
Yeah, just when we were starting to see the leaders, the championship rivals, driving a clean race to some degree, as Fletcher puts those medium tyres to good use, does a 1:36.4, sets the fastest lap of the race. Marine, if you're Ice-T right now, do you pit onto another set of mediums, or do you go bold as he's battling with Compassion, who Compassion does not let him through? Strange enough, so Compassion moves up into 2nd position, I should say. Sorry, Ice-T was ahead of him. Compassion up into 2nd position now. So no favours for him this time. As Ice-T, as I was saying to my earlier question, is Ice-T now going to go a bit longer and try and put on the soft tyres? Try and do a fastest lap to give him that extra insurance?
Yeah, could be a strategy.
I mean, right now he has to...
Good one,
Right now he has to finish in the top 5 in order to make that work. So it's a big risk. But perhaps in his mind he feels the way this race is unfolding, it may be his best chance to do that. As Sem, the Nautic's running dead last in 17th position. He's not had the rub of the green, despite otherwise from his Mercedes teammate, in contrast to his race. As Sem out of the race, it's a real shame. But we know he's going to absolutely kill it in tomorrow's VRL F1 season finale, which you can watch here on the Hot Lap Mode VRL PS4 YouTube channel at 2:30 PM UK time, 3:30 PM European time. It's going to be an absolute slobber-knocker of a race. I can't wait for it. I hope you guys are looking forward to that as well. Burkay getting another penalty in the Ferrari, and he's got a train of cars behind him now. The Keke Jense, Yoda Speak behind him. Papine also in the mix as well. We haven't seen much of him in the Renault. It's amazing for Renault, Marine, how their season has completely fallen off the cliff after such a strong start.
You're actually right with pointing that out. To go to the softs after this lap, it's only 8 laps remaining, and the softs will make that, if I'm correct.
I just feel like that's Ice-T's play now.
Yeah, but Fletcher and Compassion are doing the same. No, wait, they are not.
No, they're on medium tyres.
They're 2 stops.
So Fletcher at this point, it's interesting because right now, normally you would say, and Dekeke Jensei's retired from the race, so he's had a big incident, so just going to go to that quickly. What has happened to him? He's got the exit of turn 1. I think he's crashed.
Kimi's on board, yeah, he's crashed. Indeed.
Yeah, he's crashed at the exit of turn 1. Similar to what Sebastian Vettel did years ago in qualifying, where he lost it out of turn 1, went very wide and into the wall, as Dekeke Jensei, another Red Bull driver, does the same. But going back to the point with Fletcher, Marine, yes, you're right. Ice-T looks like he's going to go to the soft tyres, so he's going to try and get the fast lap, but he's getting a brilliant tow following behind Compassion. So Compassion, even though he's ahead of him, is doing a job for him by dragging him along the circuit, give him that extra speed to help him overcut and chase down some of the drivers behind. I'm trying to think how long it is. How long is it for a pit stop, Marine? Do you know? It's around 25 seconds, 25 seconds here?
I don't know exactly, so...
It's a slow pit lane, and of course you've got the tunnel, the famous tunnel pit lane exit, and Boan Pole, another penalty. Could have made this a drinking game. For those of you over the legal age drinking limit in whichever country you're from, would have been a fun idea. We'll have to save that one for next season, but nonetheless, we move on. And yeah, he's still going, Mariah, so he's definitely going to go for softs, unless, and play devil's advocate here, what if Ice-T is going to go to the end? Could he possibly go to the end on those tyres? Right now, he's being dragged along by Compassion, who is doing a great job for him, as we can see here, guys, for all to see. I'm wondering how much wear Ice-T has got on those medium tyres. He might try to go to the end, Marine. This could be how he wins the championship. Of course, he has to finish in the top 4. Jaffa Baboon is just over 10 seconds behind him, as you can see down the end of the back straight. This could be genius from Ice-T. He could win the championship without having to stop again.
But that would be... then his tyres will be absolutely dead at the end, but if he doesn't pit this lap, I think that's what his strategy is going to be. If he pits this lap, he is going on to softs, and that will be close. I mean, realistically, we see him coming out at like P8 or P9, maybe even P10 or P11. He would have to make all these moves, and yeah, I know there are a lot of time penalties, but Ice also has a time penalty, so we don't see him pitting, so I believe he is going to the end.
And AMC at 33 has just got another penalty as well, so that's going to help. I do believe he may go to the end, Marine. He's running out of time to make the soft strategy work. So, and right now, the drivers behind him, AMC at 33 and Jaffa Baboon, are only around about half a second to 3/4 of a second a lap faster than Ice-T. So Ice-T is going to try, I believe, is going to try and go to the end of the race.
Yeah, it's all or nothing at this point.
This is
now he's going to drop back.
The suspense.
I think he's done the right thing, but because Alex is still 10 seconds back. I do see AMC catching Ice-T, but AMC has got a lot of time penalties. So has Alex. So yeah, Ice-T's tyres will be dead at the last 3 or 4 laps, I think. So that's where the AMC and Alex are going to gain the most time. But yeah, I mean, be able to pass him and get enough of a lead to make those penalties go off.
But he's not really catching him. Right now, their pace is relative. It's only a few tenths on this lap. AMC at 33 is not really making enough games, and neither is Alex. So right now, Marine, yeah, I'll tell you what, Ice-T is going to win both championships at this point for both himself and Racing Point. I'll tell you what, not that there's anything wrong with it, but he's going to owe a great deal of thanks to Compassion in strange circumstances, doing the wingman duties for him today. Definitely helping him out in more ways than one.
Compassion could go a lot faster, but
absolutely.
You can clearly see Ice-T loses a lot of time in the corners to Compassion, and yeah, the DRS really helps Ice-T as well. But now AMC has gained a full second in the last
the last sector. Yeah, that's another caveat to this. developing situation in the closing stages of the VRL F2 season. It's been an incredible season for so many reasons, and not to mention AMC and Jaffa Baboon still have penalties themselves, as battle for 7th and 8th between Nick Pancras and Brian Pohl is getting very interesting now. It's Racing Point definitely in the driver's seat for this championship, and Nick Pancras doing a great job getting up to 7th position to overtake the Williams, who is on very old hard tyres going to the end of this race. But he's got a great run in Brian Pohl. He's going to go to the outside. Is he going to make this move stick? He does. Great effort from him.
20 viewers on the stream, so it's nice.
We're hitting new heights all the time, guys, and I hope you guys are really enjoying the coverage so far and throughout the season. It's been an absolute pleasure for me, and I'm really looking forward to what we've got in store for future seasons to come, as Brian Pohl and Nick Pancras once again battling each other, and they're still going for each other, and Brian Pohl gets another penalty. This is insane. It's literally going to come to the point where we'll find out how many penalties you can get in a race without getting disqualified. And they're still going. Oh, and he's gone bold. Oh, and they've collided. And Brian Pohl has gone very, very wide, force wide.
Matt is going to be
careful. Oh, and it's a huge... Oh, and yeah, Matt's been the victim. He's lost part of his front wing. And oh, and that's it, out of the race. Brian Pohl shunted into the wall there by Matt. Although Matt certainly didn't mean for that to happen. And to be honest, Brian Pohl was getting very, very squirmish with that rear end, and I'll be honest with you, it seemed inevitable that the way that he was driving there, Brian Pohl, that was going to happen, and I don't think there was much Matt could do about that, really, to avoid an accident for himself.
Now, as we look at the gap to AMC, the gap from Alex to AMC has stayed the same, but AMC has caught a lot up to Ice-T, but that also means Alex is also catching Ice-T, but he isn't catching AMC, so...
Well, he's certainly doing what he can. Whether he's driving to the potential of that Toro Rosso, I don't know. I believe he is. Unlike his teammate, AMC has not shown really any interest in playing favours to anyone, as Matt has retired, and that is a shame. Yoda Speak, former VRL F1 champion, has been a great addition to the series this season for VRL F2. He's thoroughly enjoyed himself from what he's told me, and he's improved a lot, but unfortunately that damage for that incident with Brian Pohl has cost him more points in this race, and that's a shame that his season is over. And Alex Jaffa Baboon, that could be the moment that this championship could be decided. We've got 4 laps to go. Alex Jaffa Baboon, another penalty for him. It seems that Ice-T is going to do just enough to hold on to this championship. It's been an absolute nail-biter throughout the whole race. Heart in the mouth moment earlier in the race where Ice-T completely lost it, coming out of turn 2 and 3, almost losing the tyre and losing the race. And the championship managed to somehow hold on. And despite having only raced in 8 Grand Prix this season, you really have to feel for Fletcher. Now, Ice-T has been allowed to overtake Compassion, and Compassion puts the final nail in the coffin for Ice-T to send Fletcher's way with a move around the outside.
Now, Ice-T is going to need to be careful that he doesn't do the same as he did previously in the race, because the tires are mostly with these if you take the tires so long, it's really difficult in turn 2 and 3. You can't go full throttle there, and you're sliding all over the place. Even if you lift a bit, it's just horrible, and that's what he found out. Also, when you go wide, the curbs on the left are deadly. If you go over there, your car unsettles immediately and you spin around like Icy did.
It's an interesting. Sorry to interrupt, Marine. Fletcher, the race leader, has just pitted for a set of soft tyres, so obviously he knows. He's got to do. Yeah, he's got to try and protect the fastest lap.
He's going
very slowly. Oh, he's going to try Hamilton, isn't he? He's going to try to back Ice-T into the Toro Rossos.
That's going to work because Compassion just let him pass. So.
And AMC 33 has been doing a lot of weaving behind his teammates, so I'm of the opinion that both of them are in sync in their strategy. Both of them are going to protect point. Now, I've said this before and I'll say this again. I've never in my life as a racing fan ever seen, let alone one driver from another team help another driver win a championship, but two drivers from the same team backing up a potential rival to win this world championship. It's incredible. And as you can see right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and even Alex in 5th, Jaffa Baboon, all in there.
Jay Fletcher is only going to win the championship if Berkay and Jamil catch up, and they pass Icy, because I don't think the penalties are...
It might be worth having a look at penalties though, Marine, because, and maybe this is in Fletcher's mind as well, maybe he's thinking about backing Ice-T into the likes of Alex Jaffa Baboon, just in case penalties might relegate Ice-T down further field. And he's right behind him, and I'll tell you what, I've got no problem with Fletcher's tactics to try and back Ice-T for an overtake from someone else, providing of course he doesn't try to take Ice-T out of the race. We do not want to see that, not implying that that's what he's going to do. Oh, and AMC 30 Compassion goes around the inside of Ice-T to move into second place.
And here comes AMC.
And AMC now is going to try and... Oh my god.
3 wide.
Oh, they're all going on. This is crazy stuff. This is the sort
Alex.
of thing...
Yes,
and now, oh wow.
Now.
And now, oh, he's been sent wide, Ice-T. Is he going to lose it? Is he going to hold on to it? Oh my goodness. And now he's in 5th place, but of course penalties are still a factor in this, but all of a sudden, Compassion and AMC...
got loads amount of penalties, so I think this is not enough yet.
It may not be enough, this may just all be for show, but right now, the two Torossos have had enough of Fletcher backing Ice-T into them and have overtaken Ice-T, most likely an attempt to try and get ahead of Fletcher as well, as now Alex goes for a move up the inside of Compassion. And he's hit the other Toro Rosso. Contact with AMC 33 sends Jaffa Baboon wide. Ice-T is right behind him, and he's going to look, and there's another collision. Alex is definitely... He's got wing damage. So this could create a situation for Ice-T as he gets out of the way, as Ice-T now moves into 4th position, back into championship contention. This could be all she wrote for the championship, but I think, as we said before, I'm not sure what the tactic was, but it looked like the Toro Rossos had had enough, particularly Compassion, of Fletcher trying to back Ice-T into them, tried to overtake him to then overtake Fletcher. Fletcher's now left them, as now Ice-T sliding the rear end of that bracing point. How much grip has he got?
He's really slow through that final sector, and I think Alex is going to overtake him on this lap.
Alex is, yeah, you're right.
But I don't think it will be enough to deny Icy from the championship, seeing the penalties.
Well, I mean, what a crazy finish to an absolutely crazy season now. Ice-T currently in this championship position. He has got only a certain number of turns left to go. Literally about 15 turns of the wheel separating him. Oh, there you go. The same for Ice-T, yeah, just as much as 12, 13 turns of the wheel left, separating him from motorsport immortality at the moment, the Racing Point driver. And now we are moments away. Fletcher leading the races. Alex goes for a move up the inside to move up into 4th position. Ice-T, is he going to race him hard? Penalties are going to play a factor, but I feel that it's all going to be in vain. Ice-T right now in 5th, out of championship contention, but penalties will probably promote him back into that position. And Compassion has gone very wide. Playing devil's advocate. I'm going to play devil's advocate there. I'm going to guess that that was a planned manoeuvre from Compassion. As I said, it's definitely not a team order. Compassion certainly making the decision to do that himself, but he comes around the final corner to complete another brilliant drive from Fletcher. He wins in Abu Dhabi to do everything he can, but it could all be in vain while setting the fastest lap of the race, as through the final corner to complete an incredible season, it is Ice-T up into 3rd place, the champion of VRL F2. What a season it's been, and Ice-T does what he needs to do to win the championship, not only for himself, but also Racing Point, the inaugural VRL F2 Constructors Champions as well. As Nick Pancras completes the top 10 to get a double points finish. Ferrari.
Look at the gaps between 8th and 10th.
So close. Literally, as you can see, yeah.
6,000s and 12,000s. Unbelievable.
And you've got to feel for Fletcher. Come into the season a bit later on, did everything possible, has been outstanding when he's driven, done everything that you would expect a championship contender to do. His 4th win of the season, and needless to say, I can only sympathise with how he must be feeling inside that crash helmet. But he will celebrate the win nonetheless like a true champion. He has given everything in this championship fight and more. However, it will not be enough for him, but he is your winner of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for VRL F2. It is Jay Fletcher once again, ringing off the season in style. But the champion there alongside him, Ice-T, coming home in 3rd position. Under controversial circumstances, it must be said, but nonetheless, thoroughly deserved champion for him and his team Racing Point. Finally over the line when it mattered most. So he's to round off the provisional classification for the VRL F2 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Jay Fletcher winning for Mercedes, unfortunately not enough to clinch the title. AMC F33, 2nd place for Toro Rosso, great effort from him. Ice-T, 3rd place, podium finish, and the champion for VRL F2 for Racing Point. A ring off the season in style. Emius Compassion, a big assist to Ice-T there, coming home in 4th position. Jaffa Baboon continuing his excellent form in the end of the season, 5th for Haas. Kimi, excellent start, 18th off the grid, finishing 6th place. Definitely my driver of the day. Jamil, 7th, equally impressive in the McLaren. The 2 Ferraris, 8th and 9th, Berkay, Shah and Larry, not enough for them to clinch the Constructors' Championship. It sort of fell away after the US Grand Prix when they led in the last 2 races, and Nick Pancras rounding off the top 10 in the Racing Point to help get his team over the line to celebrate the Constructors' Championship. Marine, before we do the interviews, what are your immediate thoughts?
Yeah, well, interesting last few laps, to say the least. That I've never seen something like that before.
It just evolved so quickly. And just to check, sorry, are we inviting the drivers to the?
Yes, I am.
We are, brilliant, thank you. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, mate. Absolutely ridiculous finish. Of course, we knew that there might be some drivers that may help, but of course, it's all done in the right spirit. It's no team orders or any allegiances and stuff like that. Compassion in particular did what he needed to do, or what he felt he wanted to do, to help a friend of his win this championship. Totally nothing wrong with that. And I would say, despite all of that battle and battling back and forth and the way the season has gone, Ice-T, in my mind, very much a worthy champion. And it's a great way, all the drama from the first lap in Montreal to the final lap in Abu Dhabi, it's been an incredible season. As now we're about to welcome our top 3 to the podium for the post-race interviews, guys. And we're just waiting. So first of all, we've got the champion with us here. So first of all, we'll interview him. Congratulations, our VRL F2 champion, the inaugural champion, Ice-T. Ice-T, first of all, on the podium once again. It's quite a common factor this season, a common tale, and one of the reasons why you're champion. Congratulations on winning the championship, not just the Drivers' Championship, of course, the Constructors' Championship for Racing Point as well. How must you be feeling right now? Finally got over the line. How do you feel?
It was a dramatic race for me. I don't know if the crash of me was on the stream. I had an incident with soft tire and crashed into the wall, so I needed to pit, and with I think 8 laps to go, my tires were 60%, so I needed to go to the end, and I think that helped me this podium.
I was going to ask about that. When you had that incident just before your first pit stop, where you lost it coming out of turn 3 and into the wall, did you worry that your championship was over at that point when you went into the wall and lost part of your front wing? I mean, you were very fortunate not to lose more than that in that race. What was your thoughts going after that moment?
Yeah, I was lucky that it only was my front wing that was broken. I thought my tire would be off, but yeah, it was an incident. It was a driving mistake for me. So I was, and the championship, I thought it was over, but I was closing the gap to Gekke Jensi and who was in front of me? Yoda, I think.
Yeah.
Very quick, so I thought that I had the pace to close the gap to the front, and I did.
Well, I mean, it was a great recovery, and of course, a great piece of innovation in your strategy. Of course, you went one stop, which is not normally conventional around Abu Dhabi, but you got a great tow from Compassion, who we know in the past has given you tows in qualifying, and in a way, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, probably did in some way help you across the line. Was that something that surprised you when you went that strategy choice, or was that something that you felt he might do to sort of help you stay in the championship winning position?
It surprised me because I was far behind of Compassion, but after the pit stop I think he came behind me, so he had problems. We have footage of that, so because I spoke to him what happened, so yeah.
No, but that's absolutely fine, and of course that's not to take anything away from your title victory, but of course it's always interesting. I've never seen anything like that before, but it was an incredible race all the way to the finish. So do stay with us, because I'm going to come back to you after the other interviews are done, if that's okay. But once again, congratulations not only to yourself, Ice-T, for winning the Drivers' Championship, but also the Constructors' Championship as well. VRL F2 champion, Ice-T. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So now coming to our race winner, and if I don't mind saying, an absolute brilliant contender in this championship. He has very much, equally as much as the champion, made this championship battle everything we hoped it would be and more. Fletcher, congratulations on the win. Commiserations, just missing out by the finest of margins in the championship. What are your thoughts right now after that race?
Nothing. Nothing.
Fair enough. No, I mean,
not really.
Okay. I mean, that's understandable. I mean, I totally understand, and take all the time you need. I know it's not easy, and but for what it's worth, you have been an absolutely incredible contender in this championship fight. For a long time, it seemed at the start of the season that Ice-T, our champion, was going to run away with it, but because of your efforts and your brilliant speed and talent and performances, you really took this to the end. And unfortunately, we can only crown one person, but you are definitely much a champion in the eyes of myself and also the eyes of many that watch our streams as well. So definitely, I would say, hold your head up. You've given everything, and that's all you can ask for. In terms of the race itself, just to go back to that, any particular thoughts in terms of your strategy? It was quite a quiet race at the front until, of course, your pit stop at the end. What was your thought process for pinning onto the soft tyres? Did you want to try and influence what was happening behind you, or were you trying to get the fastest lap to make sure you had that in the bag?
I was trying to do a bit of a Lewis Hamilton, one last gasp at the championship, but then Compassion parked it at the airpin on the last lap, and I was told by the engineer it was over.
No, it's funny you should mention, yeah. I mean, as I said, it's funny you should mention Lewis Hamilton, the antics in the 2016 championship with Nico Rosberg. Of course, that's perfectly legal, totally nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm not surprised that you tried to do everything legally possible to win the championship. If anything, if I was in your position, I probably would have tried to do the same. But given your assessment on the season as a whole, that was your 4th victory this season, 5 pole positions. Perhaps the only thing going against you was the fact that perhaps you were unable to join at an earlier point in the season. What are your plans for next season? Are you going to be moving up into VRL F1, or are you going to try it and stay in F2 and win the championship? Because if you stay, I'd very much like to see if you can go one better next season.
That's up to Phil. He says probably not next season, but I don't really care.
It's totally understandable with your thoughts elsewhere at the moment. I won't bother you with any more questions, but once again, commiserations to you. It was an excellent performance today and all season. You've been a testament to this championship, and personally I want to thank you on behalf of Vrl F2 for everything that you've done to take this fight to the very end, and I'm sure Ice-T will join me in congratulating you from making him work for it. And sure winner of the Vrl F2 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and runner-up in the championship, Fletcher. Commiserations and excellent battling all the way to the end.
Thanks.
So moving on to our 2nd place finisher, who's in no way an understudy in this final result, AMCF 33. Runner-up in the race. Excellent performance from you. What was your take on the race?
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 races I had, I got no points and it was pretty crap. And then to come here, and then I surprised myself by coming, what was it, P3 in the grid. So my heart was pumping fast. But yeah, the whole race I never stopped pushing. I went to the end.
Well, no, it was definitely a great performance from yourself, and you definitely showed pace and performance. Of course, there was a bit of a wobble in the middle stint, but you recovered it well to finish in the top 2. I've got to ask, from a complete neutral perspective as you were in, all of the antics going on in the last few laps between yourself, your teammate, Ice-T, Fletcher, and even Alex, Jaffa Baboon as well, what were your thoughts in all of that? Were you just sort of happy to hang in there, or were you looking for an opportunity to think, I could perhaps win this race?
At around lap 25, I caught up to Compassion. He started waving, like saying, just leave it how it is, I want Ice-T to win. So I kept it like that for 1 lap, but then I'm just like, I'm not going to wait behind here P4. I want to try and get in the podium. I'm just going to race. Get my first podium VRL.
And that you did, and very much thoroughly deserved. And that's absolutely fine. It's quite interesting to hear that kind of insight, obviously communication with your teammate as well, considering how the race unfolded. But with that, your first podium in Vrl F2, what are your thoughts for next season? Are you going to look to try and be a championship contender and maybe get your first win of the season? What's the thoughts of AMCF 33 in the off season?
I mean, a win would be nice. I'm not going to think about the Drivers' Championship. That'll be very hard to do.
Well, I certainly wish you the best of luck.
I will try and stay as high as the championship as I can.
Well, if you perform like that on a regular basis next season, there's certainly no reason why you can't be in the fight for that championship. It's become quite the coveted championship as well, so certainly no way is a supporting act to the VRL F1, but a lot of quick drivers, so you should be very happy with your performance. Congratulations on the podium. Runner-up with the race, AMCF 33, excellent drive.
Cheers.
So, coming back for the final time this season, Ice-T, if you're still with us. So, yeah. Can I get your thoughts on the championship as a whole? Because at the start of the season, you won the first 2 races. You could have easily won the first 4 if it wasn't for connection issues. And of course, Fletcher was absolutely brilliant as soon as he come into the fight, complete unknown, and then took you right to the end. What are your thoughts right now after finally being crowned the inaugural VRL F2 champion and Constructors champion for Racing Point?
Yeah, it feels really good. Yeah, the first 4 races I won 2, and the other 2 I had internet problems. By Britain I get disconnected from pole, and the other race was Belgium. I finished first, but I set back to 4th for no reason, so that was hard. And then came Fletcher. He showed himself on Germany. He had great pace, but on the last lap he spun and got retired. Unfortunate for him. And the last few races he was so dominant in the race, so I keep to get the points. It feels really great to win against Fletcher, because he's not an easy driver to win off. So yeah, great job by him.
Yeah, and absolutely right. Very well said and well spoken as a champion, and thoroughly deserved this season. Congratulations on winning that and the Constructors' Championship. What are your thoughts for next season? Because, well, of course, we talked about potentially you go into VRL F1 as early as after the Singapore race or US race, but that didn't happen. You obviously stayed to the end. What are your plans for next season? Are you going to try to conquer the F1 league?
Yeah, I think that I can compete in the F1 league, but I need to find the team. Teams need to find me. So I think I can compete against the great drivers that are racing in the F1 right now. Yeah.
Well, there's certainly no doubt in my mind that you can definitely compete. I'm sure after your performances this season, there are plenty of teams that are looking for drivers for next season that will be happy to have you in VRL F1. But of course, if the unthinkable should happen and you're still in the F2 league, then definitely we'll be looking forward to seeing you race next season, whichever league you're in. And it's been a pleasure to commentate and broadcast your races and of course your victory and championship success this season. So once again, congratulations to the Racing Point team and also the VRL F2 Constructors and Drivers Champion, Ice-T.
Thank you.
So yeah, Marijn, after those interviews, gotta say, what are your thoughts after an incredible season that we've had?
Yeah, really speechless after that last few laps. It was incredible. So many action during that sums up the season basically. Yeah, amazing season. We've seen lots of drivers who really showed what they're capable of, and some amazing fights.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and it's been an absolute war from the start to finish. It's something we didn't think we'd get towards the end of the season, at the start of the season I should say, but it's been an incredible fight, and I'm really glad to have shared this booth with you to bring all of you wonderful people that have supported us through this season in both this league and the VRL F1 league. And of course, one surprise is that, and I'm not sure if I said this correctly in the warm up to the grid, but I don't believe in the chat anyone answered my question, which was basically, what was the smallest margin that a World Championship in Formula 1 has been won? And Marijn, how about a guess? Go on, to sign off the season. What do you think it is?
I actually know that because I just read it this morning.
Oh yeah?
It was in 1984, I think, with Niki Lauda winning against Alain Prost with half a point.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right with that one. And actually, just got an invite from Alex Jaffa Baboon. I might, our VRL F1 commentator, I might actually invite him to the party. Yeah. Actually, I think there's a few others. Actually, I think we'll leave that for now, and I'll get back to him afterwards. Sorry about the delay, guys. So yeah, just to round off the season, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure for me to commentate on this and broadcast this to you all. Stay tuned, because of course we've got the excellent season finale in the VRL F1 Championship. This time, tomorrow at 2:30 PM UK time, 3:30 PM European time on the VRL PS4 YouTube channel. And of course, don't forget to check out our sponsors. Thank you so much this season for sponsoring us: Hot Lap Mode, F1.Gameplay, excellent job, and of course Vision Racing League, the guys that run the whole show. After an absolute incredible season of ups and downs, a season that looked like it was going to be ran away with, was taken all the way to the end by Mercedes and Jay Fletcher. But of course, once the sun goes down and the lights are up in Abu Dhabi and the fireworks are all on display on the top of the podium, VRL F2 champion, and that is Racing Point and Ice-T. I've been your host, Adam Burns, and my co-commentator, once again, Marijn. Excellent stuff this season. Stay tuned for what we've got coming up for you in the next races, and of course, we look forward to seeing you in the off-season and the next season of VRL F2. See you later.